I already gave you my underrated prospects, like what, a few weeks ago, maybe a month, I don't know. Time flies. So I'm here to give you my overrated prospects, and this is perfect because now all the Power 5, they're going to have a season. Some other conferences are going to have a season. So let's take a look at my 10 prospects that I think are getting a little too much hype. But before we get into that, what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know so, go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. It really helps the video out a ton. It's always much appreciated. Much obliged. I will be live on Twitch tomorrow night for the Thursday night kickoff. What a banger. Broncos and Jets. But if you want to see some real football, come watch Georgia State. I'm going to be playing NCAA 14 on Twitch, as is what I do. We are coming off an 11-2 season in our 4th year. So now we're looking to win the Sun Belt. So, yeah, big off season for Albert Wilson and crew. If you didn't know, that's the coach, Albert Wilson, because he is the best Georgia State player thus far. But let's go ahead and let's just dive into this. I had my overlay from last year. I guess last year. Last time I did a video like this, which I was like, kind of cool. I'll just use this. And when I talk about overhype, I'm including myself, man. I overhyped some guys this offseason, and thus far, they have not come through. So I'm going to put it out there. My first guy is Tamarian Terry out of Florida State, the wide receiver. He put on the size. I was hoping for him to look much better and impress, which he's looked pretty decent. He did have a pretty bad drop, but man, this is I'll get into it in my you'll see this video tomorrow. I'm gonna go in and talk about what prospects have really helped their value within the first 3 or 4 weeks of college football. Prospects that have hurt their value. Did I say hurt their value, helped their value? And then I'll also go into some 2022 prospects. But talk about how Norvell, man, he is just doing this youth movement at Florida State, and a lot of these other guys that look like they're going to be out of there, they're not getting a lot of playing time. And Terry, he only saw 14 snaps against Miami, which really sucks, man. I don't think this season's really going to help him, but I still believe in the prospect. I think he is he's very Randy Moss-esque. He's got good size. He's got great vertical, I guess, downfield ability. He's a big play threat with the ball in his hands. Yes, his route running, he could use a better route tree, more so. But he's not going to see that. Norvell, if you follow him from Memphis, he runs a very gimmick-like system, so he's not going to have a nuance of route running. But I think the guy's got strong hands. Like I said, I really believe in the prospect, but he's probably not a first-rounder right now at this point. Let's talk about another prospect I was extremely high on, and I don't think he's actually going to end up coming out. I think he'll end up coming out in the 2022 draft, and that's Brock Purdy. Man, these first 2 weeks have sucked for Purdy. Now, they've been a polar opposite if we saw the previous 2 seasons. We know he doesn't have the best arm strength. He's got a bit of a noodle for an arm, but he's a very accurate quarterback, whether it's in a clean pocket or outside of structure. He's been very good. He's been able to elevate a Iowa State team that doesn't really have the talent around him. But this season's kind of been flipped on its head. He just hasn't looked good. He got shut down, looked bad versus Louisiana, not Louisiana State, but Louisiana. And that TCU game, parts of it looked better, but he still made some boneheaded just decision making, which is not kind of his thing. It's not his MO. He's an accurate passer with pretty darn good decision making. The dude's a gunslinger, but yeah, man, there was this one where he was whipped around and he just threw the ball. It ended up being, I think, backwards pass, and it was a fumble. Like, it didn't look good. They ended up getting the win on TCU, but it just looked good. Didn't look good. So far, 2020 has not been pretty for Purdy, and I could at this point, I could definitely see him coming back for the 2022 season. Now, let's get into a guy that's probably getting a lot of hype after this past Saturday, and that's Kylin Hill. That's right, he's on my overhyped, and let me tell you why. Because what we've seen in the past leads me to believe that he's just not very good at running back things. He's a great athlete, but just not, he doesn't have great vision. He's very indecisive, even bouncy behind the line of scrimmage. But I said this earlier, if you check out my expanded rankings on FTFN, I said that Mike Leach would really help out Hill, because like I said, he's a tremendous athlete and he's got problems with decision making. He doesn't necessarily have the best vision, and with Mike Leach's offense, it really spreads like the line of scrimmage. So he came into that LSU game and he saw gaping holes where, hey, you don't have to be decisive, you know that's the right answer. And being such a great athlete, he was great in the passing game. Like, he really actually attacked the football when it was in the air, and like he just went off for like over 100 some receiving yards. And honestly, seeing that pass catching in his repertoire really helps out his stock, and I definitely think he will be a hot riser as the season goes on. But just keep in mind, like, that doesn't erase the past. He's been a bit of a highlight reel, but he has this stigma of not performing well against better competition. He had very, very bad outings against Auburn, LSU, Tennessee, Alabama, and Louisville, where he went for 57 carries for only 129 yards. Like, so you just can't dismiss that. But I think this year in Mike Leach's offense really will help him. But currently, he is on my overrated list. Let's talk about a couple of these edge rushers that are getting some first round hype from some mock drafts websites. And I'm going to start with Joe Tryon out of Washington. He will luckily and fortunately get a season. The guy is a tremendous athlete, great burst. He's got really strong hands. He's very good with his hands. Plays with a high motor, but just kind of what I talked about with Kylin Hill, where he just doesn't do running back things very well. Tryon doesn't do football things very well. The guy, like I said, he's got great aggression, but sometimes it's to his detriment. He kind of moves himself out of place, takes back bad angles, and he just at this point he's just pure upside. Like, you love the athletic upside, but there is not, at least as far as what I've seen on tape, he needs a little development. Like, honestly, I'm glad the Pac-12 is going to be playing. He really needs this year. And then the other guy I want to talk about is also out of the Pac-12. It's let's see if I get this right. Hameed Rasheed Jr. out of Oregon State. Then, I mean, size. First things first. It's the size is a huge issue. If he's under 240, can't be like that. That's my big dig on Chris Rumpf from Duke, a guy that I'm actually very high on based on what we've seen on the field, but I really don't like the size. But this Rasheed, he's got tremendous speed, literally flies around the edge, good bend. But if the thing is, if you can't win with pure speed, he's kind of dead in the water. Like, he's got a pretty swift move, but he doesn't have a array of moves in his pass rush toolbox. There's really nothing else to his arsenal outside of his speed. I mean, that sack total, I don't think it wasn't entirely representative. Didn't entirely represent how disruptive he was. He only had 35 pressures last year. So, yeah, it just happened. A lot of those turned into sacks. But like I said, no part of this game. He won't be on the field for the run game. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Alex Highsmith out of Charlotte from last year, the Pittsburgh Steelers pick. So I honestly think he could be kind of a mid-round target and be used as a situational pass rusher early in his career. And then you can kind of go from there. Let's talk about, I got some corners on the list, and I want to start first and foremost with Paulson Adebo, a guy that's been getting first round hype since last season. People thought he'd be a first round talent if he came out of the 2021 draft. I don't see it. Like, you see the production. It's actually, he's got very good production. He's only allowed a completion, he's allowed a completion percentage under 30% for the last 2 seasons. The thing is, he is very scheme limited. Like, he's a zone only quarter. We saw when put man to man, faster wide receivers, they just laugh like, okay, bye. Like we saw that with was it Gabriel Davis in that Central Florida game. He just gets toasted by faster receivers. He doesn't have the speed to keep up. And then here's the other big knock for a guy that's probably only a zone corner guy. He's a terrible tackler. Typically zone corner, you want better tacklers in those type of schemes. He has 25 missed tackles throughout his career. So for me, honestly, he's a hard sell. I think he's only I have a current 4th round grade on him. I think he's really just a day 3. Oh, excuse me. Day 3 option. Maybe that's an omen. Maybe it's an omen. But yeah, I've noticed there's a lot of these corners that are getting overhyped. Let's just go into actually let's just knock out all the corners right now while we're at it. Israel Mukuamu out of South Carolina, because people are nuts about this guy. They love his size and his length. Guess what? Not a great I don't want to say he's not a great athlete, but he's not a great athlete for the position. I think honestly probably better at safety, but if this guy gets beat at the line of scrimmage, because you look at that size like, oh, he's a press, but if he gets beat at the line of scrimmage, oh boy, dude, dead in the water, man. He has no speed to his game. In 2019, you probably, if you were just looking at the ESPN box score stats, you're like, my gosh, dude, this guy's pick 6 city, and you really want to know the whole thing. Like, dude, he literally was a roller coaster last season. He doesn't have great ball skills. If you go back and watch the tape, a lot of those are actually a lot of them in the Georgia game, like they were ill-advised passes. So I mean, yeah, you like the physical upside. I mean, go to this last weekend against Auburn, dude, where he didn't look good. He was pretty darn bad. He allowed, I think it was over 100. Actually, let me check this. I'm pretty sure he allowed over 100 yards receiving this past week. Yeah, he allowed 4 receptions for 101 yards against Auburn, dude. So, and I mean, it's not like Bo Nix is the most accurate quarterback in the world, because guess what? He ain't. So another guy that just gets first round love, and it just kind of puzzles me. He's a far away from a finished product. He's been outplayed, like, even you could say last season, by his teammate Jace Horn. So there is that. And then the other corner I have is the Florida corner Marco Wilson, which I don't get. A lot of people, they got a lot of love for this guy. And I question it. Like, I get it. He's a very, 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 very good athlete. An ACL tear really cost his season in 2018. But last season, like 2019, was rough. Like, he played pretty bad the first couple of weeks. Then he was put into the slot primarily for most of the year. And guess what? He started this weekend playing in the slot against Ole Miss. You know who had a banger of a game this week? Elijah Moore, who is their primary slot receiver, dude. Wilson, he literally has looked like the same player since stepping foot there at Gainesville. Like, he's just a guy that's a very good athlete with very poor technique. I mean, honestly, if you're drafting this guy, you're only banking on the athletic ability. I currently got a 5th round grade on him. I honestly could see that going down based on his play, if his play is going to continue to look like that. And plus, he's only getting reps in the slot now. So now, bam, he's got the tag of slot corner. He's not seeing outside reps on the outside, because he played poorly on the outside, and now he's playing poorly in the slot. So again, guy with athletic ability, athletic upside. And I actually, let's go to the wide receiver, because I just mentioned him earlier, I think, on this list. Seth Williams out of Auburn is a guy that, you know what, I'm willing to be wrong on, because he looked actually pretty good this past weekend, because he shedded 10 pounds. He's actually 215 now, and he was looking kind of good. He's known to be this highlight play receiver, and people have been like, oh, this guy's a first rounder based on those highlight real plays. But before this past weekend, he really gave me the Kelvin or Benjamin vibe, if you're familiar with that guy ate himself out of the league. Kind of, sorta. He just couldn't. The dude couldn't get separation. Seth Williams struggles getting separation. He's not nearly as good at the contested catch as you would think based on his highlight reel, who was only 6 of 18 on contested catches. And this is the thing. If you can't separate, you better be darn good at the contested catch. And he was neither last season. Caveat, the guy was very good this past weekend against South Carolina. He made multiple contested catches. And, I mean, he put on a 2-touchdown performance. And then on top of that, again, he has Bo Nix. Again, Bo Nix, he looked a little more accurate compared to the season before, but that's not saying much. But yeah, honestly, if he puts out a banger this year, shows he could separate a little bit, or even if he's just as good as a contested catcher as he was this past weekend for the remainder of the year, then you know what? I might be on board, not with this guy as a first rounder, but sneaking around that second round area, but currently got a 5th round grade on him. And then I think this is my final prospect on the list. We're going to talk about Jalen Mayfield. You should have known this was coming because I've talked about this guy immensely because I don't get him getting the first round hype. Because people look at that, they're like, man, that guy's got ideal size. Yeah, I could definitely see him playing left tackle. He could be a franchise guy, a cornerstone type of tackle. No, or at least like you would literally, I don't know what you're basing that off of. He has 1 year experience at right tackle, which matters a lot in college football because they're kind of traditional with when you put your better tackles on the left side, typically that's where the best pass rushers are going to be. They're on the blind side, so that says a lot. But again, we'll see. I'll be interested to see if they move him to left tackle. But a lot of people will be like, well, he put on a good performance against Chase Young, because I've said this before. He's the ruler. He's the standard. He's the measuring stick for these tackles. We've seen it with Rashad Slater, Jackson Carman, guys like that. He's kind of the standard. Like, all right. So he played in 2019. How do you do against Chase Young? The thing is, they don't tell you in that same game, he allowed 7 pressures to the rest of the Ohio State team. He had a good outing against Chase Young. If you ignore all the snaps where he didn't face Chase Young. Like, I'm not on board yet. Again, I got a 3rd round grade on him, but I don't know. I feel like that's a very good case. Like, he was very inconsistent last year. I don't know what more to tell you. Hopefully he looks better this year. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do that YouTube thing. It's always much appreciated, much obliged. And yeah, till next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.